Good morning, afternoon, or evening, cats and dogs. Today's video comes from the lesson 12.3 Guided Notes. Now, you may have already tried some of these questions on your own, or this may be your first time seeing these, but I wanted to create a video that went over questions 14 through 18 that I assigned for you to try on your own so that I could go over the solutions, but also go through how to find your solution for these questions. So I want to begin with number 14, which I personally think is one of the harder questions in these guided notes. So we have it mainly broken down into a larger semicircle, a smaller semicircle, and then we need to split up this region right here, which kind of looks like a house on its side. So I'm going to put a dividing line right in here to split this into a rectangle and a triangle. And I'm going to name my regions or highlight them here. We're actually going to start with the yellow outline region, which is the rectangle, and find the area of that. So this is going to be our first region. I think it's the easiest one to find the area of. The dimensions of this rectangle are 9 by 6, and the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. So let's take 9 times 6. We get an area of 54 yards squared. Again, that's for this yellow highlighted region right here. Feel free, some students like to actually write in the area in the space, which is certainly acceptable. That way you have it ready to go for when you find your total area. The next thing I would probably do is maybe this larger semicircle. So I'm going to outline that one in green for us. I know we numbered our regions before. You can also do that. So this is our larger semicircle outlined in green here for us. And the diameter of this thing is 9. That's that whole distance across here. I'm going to highlight in green a little bit better. And that's the same as this side of the rectangle. So the diameter is 9, which means the radius is 4.5. So since it's a half circle or semicircle, don't forget to do half pi r squared. So you do half times pi times 4.5 squared. You don't need to show this next step necessarily, but we're going to end up getting about 31.8 yards for the area of that semicircle. So I'm going to type that in that space. That's about 31.8 square yards. You don't need the labels on your work here. On your final solution, you should put it though. Let's do our smaller semicircle, which I'm going to outline in blue. That's going to be this semicircle. And the 6 yards actually goes with the diameter of this semicircle. You might think, well, does it go with this line? That's the one we drew in, so it doesn't go with that. So the diameter of this semicircle is 6, which makes the radius 3. So don't forget, since it's a half circle, we're going to do half pi r squared, which is half times pi times 3 squared, again, the radius squared. We end up getting about 14.1 square yards for the area of that smaller semicircle. So I'll type that in up here. That's about 14.1. And then the last one is our triangle here. And we need to do base times height. I'm going to outline this in purple. So that's going to be this triangle. It's going to look kind of red or like a darker blue there. This is our triangle, and the height of this triangle is actually 5 yards. The base is going to be this length right here, which is also 6, and it's 6 because the other side of this rectangle is 6. So it's a base of 6 and a height of 5 here. So the area of a triangle is half times base times height. That's right down here. That's half times 6 times 5, or half of 30, which is 15 yards squared. So again, this is for our triangle. I'll go ahead and type that in. So this is an area of 15. To find our total area of this weird looking shape we have here, we're going to add 15 plus 14.1 plus 31.8 plus 54. It doesn't matter which order you add them up in. Your total area should be 114.9 yards squared. I've also provided for you the answer key, so if you just want to look at the answer key instead of listening to the entire video, that's fine too. All right, I'm going to go ahead and flip my page. Let's take a look at number 15. So number 15 is kind of what I like to look at as maybe a track because it's got a rectangle in the center and then 2 semicircles, one on either side. So I'm going to outline the rectangle in yellow, and that's going to be the first shape we're going to do. Whoops, sorry about my crazy looking line there. But here's our rectangle outlined in yellow, and we're going to do length times width, which is 16 times 11. So the area of the rectangle is 176 inches squared. And sorry, that's a little blurry. I copied that from my answer key. So 176 inches squared for that rectangle. Now my 2 half circles I'm going to do together because they're both the same size, which means that if I put them together, they would form a whole circle. So you can either just do pi r squared using 5.5 as your radius, the diameter is 11, or you can do half pi r squared and multiply by 2, which is what I did here. So you can do it either way. The diameter of each semicircle is 11, or the height of this rectangle. So I identified the radius to be half of that, which is 5.5. So we do half times pi times 5.5 squared. That gets us about 47.5. And again, that's for one semicircle. But you're going to notice down here that I doubled it since we have two semicircles to get 95 inches squared, or approximately 95 inches squared. Again, you could just do pi r squared, pi times 5.5 squared, and that's going to get you, I'm going to go ahead and make sure we get the same solution. Yeah, you get about 95. It's even 95.0, so same solution, inches squared for the two semicircles, which combine for one whole circle. So we add the 176 from the rectangle to the 95 from the two semicircles. Your total area will be 271 inches squared. All right, moving on to number 16. This one actually looks really similar to question number 11 that we saw in class yesterday. The only difference is the height of the triangle is given in the triangle. So we're going to split this. It's already kind of split up for us into two regions. I'm going to start with the semicircle, which I'll highlight in yellow here. It has a diameter of 10 and a radius of 5. And I just realized I didn't type in on this last one the areas of each of these, which again, you don't have to do, but some students find that helpful just to find the total area. But our semicircle here has a diameter of 10, a radius of 5. It is a half circle, so we do half pi r squared. So do half times pi times 5 squared. Feel free to pause this at any time to practice plugging this into your calculator. Keep in mind if you're using 3.14 instead of pi, you might be just slightly different, which is no big deal. For that semicircle, we end up getting an area of about 39.3 centimeters squared. So I'll type that in here, about 39.3. Now for the triangle, which I'll outline in green, it's just one triangle. Often I will see students who want to divide this into two triangles because of the height shown inside there. You don't need to do that. Just treat this as one big triangle with a height of 15 and a base of 10. So do half times 10 times 15. That's going to get us an area of 75 centimeters squared. So if I want to find the total area of this ice cream cone, if you will, sideways ice cream cone, which is not ideal, we're going to add the 39.3 to the 75 to get a total area of 114.3 centimeters squared. All right, let's take a look at our last two, which are really similar questions actually, except for one has two triangles on it, the other one just has one. So let's take a look at number 17. Number 17 is already split into two different shapes. Let's start with our rectangle, the easier one. So I'm going to outline it in yellow with my not so straight lines here. Luckily, it makes them straight. Ooh, that one it did not. Didn't recognize it as a line. Our dimensions are 10 and 5, so we're going to take 10 times 5, which is 50 centimeters squared. Pretty easy. Again, that work is right here. So I'm going to type that in. The area of this rectangular space is 50. We also have a triangle. Again, don't split it into two triangles. It's just one big triangle here with a height of 3 and a base of 10. That base is shown down here. We'll do half times 10 times 3. The area of that triangular region is 15. So we add those together to get our total area, should be 65 centimeters squared. Some of the problems actually become a little easier. I think when you don't have those half circles in there, it makes it a little easier to work through. All right, our last one is a rectangle in the center and two triangles, two congruent triangles above and below. Let's find the area of the rectangle first. I realized I didn't put the area up here, no big deal, but let me type it in. A rectangle is 24 yards by 8 yards, so take 24 times 8. That's going to get us an area of 192 square yards, so I'll type that in here. And then our two triangles, basically find the area of one triangle and then double it. Again, a few smart cookies realized yesterday that you could just take the 1/2 out of the formula and just do base times height. That also works. Then you don't have to double it at the end. But you'll notice in my work, I did half times base times height. The height is 8 for each of these and the base is 24. So I took half times 24 times 8. half of 192 is going to get us 96. So each of these is 96, which I doubled to get 192 yards squared. And again, that's for the two triangles together. So if you add 192 plus 192, or 192 plus 96 plus 96, your total area will be 384 yards squared. And again, if you show your work slightly differently, because let's say you do each triangle as a separate problem, that's fine. If you just take out the 1/2, I will recognize that as realizing that the two triangles together, you could just do base times height. That works as well. All right, hopefully this clarifies some things if you had questions about these few. You're going to get a chance to try some more practice on this as well. And of course, we'll review this a little bit more before you see it on a quiz or a test, quiz being next week and test in the future. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend.